Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping by once again. I have a few details here I'd like to get out of the way, but I still think of them. A couple messages to people who left comments here that were not published. One is Don, who sent me 3 videos, addresses, and some comments, what have you, on economic policy and so forth in the United States. Don, thank you. That's very fine, but this is not an American site. It's a global site, and recently I had an American, but I also had a Canadian, a Frenchman, and a lovely lady from the Netherlands here. It's very global, and I don't focus on any one nation at all. I don't want to, because it just causes more confusion, and other people in other countries have different issues that they want to talk about, and it's not appropriate here. We talk about Panama. Thank you, though. I mean, I understood you. It was innocent enough, but it's not the sort of thing that I allow up on this YouTube channel. You did ask me a generic question, which is, was all the problems and difficulties, did it make me think twice about whether I was right to come to Panama? No, quite the contrary. I'm exactly where I should be, and I'm very happy there. Okay, Venus. Thank you very much. You sent me a link to a YouTube channel that deals with Panama, the people working here. It's a little dated. You need to update on them. It's a great channel, and I follow it regularly, have for years. So you've got you found a good one. Although, as I say, it's a couple years old. I'm getting close to 3 years old. And they have a lot more up since then. But the key point is this, is that it's a commercial site. They sell stuff, and they have advertising and so forth. I have no problem with that. But you have to understand that I have a number of people here have been viewing this website for this YouTube channel for quite some time. They have their own, and they have businesses, and they're trying to promote them, and it's a difficult time and all that. And for me to put up one and ignore the others, I would end up having a host of them come in. And I tried that once, and oh boy, it's just wrong. And I don't want to have to make all these judgments about which ones are the good ones, and forget it. It's not worth it. The channel has its purpose, and I just share what I have, and I go on about my business. So thank you for mentioning that to me, and I encourage you to continue to follow them, and you'll find it a very interesting experience, I'm sure, as you probably already have. Okay, now, otherwise here in Panama, as far as COVID's concerned, we've been doing extremely well here. However, today was announced, just happened to be today, the first known case of Omicron having arrived here in Panama. Yesterday had been an 8-year-old boy in Costa Rica who had been up in the U.S. I don't have any details on our person here. The key is that, okay, we knew it was coming. And it's come, and we don't know how many people are infected, but we do know that it moves very, very rapidly. Now, the danger here, folks, is that it throws our health system into turns it upside down again. We don't need that. I had a friend here for 2 years now, been waiting to have an operation that he needs. It's not going to kill him to wait, but it's been not at all comfortable. And his doctors tried very hard to get time for him, and he haven't been able to do it because there's just so much that's been taken up by COVID. Now that has died way back, they have this big backlog. And again, his isn't considered severe enough for him to get that time in. It's just that way. Hopefully he'll have that done and out of the way in the next few weeks. But if we get hit with a wave coming into the hospital system, I tell you, that is almost as threatening as anything other aspect is that the health system's put back in that situation. We've been making such good progress in cleaning it up and taking care of it. It would be very harmful if that were to happen. But that's something we don't control. The virus does what the virus does. We do our best to protect ourselves and others, and hope that it works. And so far we've done well, but we have to keep working at it. Some good news on the line here. The gross domestic product, that is the national income for the country for a year, how much the whole nation together has made, so to speak. That was, as I've mentioned in the earlier videos and elsewhere, that the IMF had said we were going to have a 12% growth rate for the year, and people were stunned and shocked, and they'd said 4 or 5% and 6, 7% and so forth. Well, the third quarter came out. For the first 9 months of this year, of 21, compared to the first 9 months of 2020, we're up about 14.9%, call it 15 if you like. That's very good. That's exceptionally good, all right? Now, I sat down with the statistics. We understand that the last quarter here, these last 3 months, October through December in 2021, are going to be compared against October and December of 2020. We have those statistics. And the recovery was underway. So definitely in those 3 months, it had begun. So we shouldn't expect this quarter statistics to have grown quite as rapidly as earlier quarters. Where they were being compared to terrible, disastrous results like the second quarter. Oh, awful. So the final number, I don't know. But I sat down with the stats themselves, the actual numbers, and ran a couple of scenarios there. I really think that we should be able, the lowest I got was 13.7% for the nation, for the year. It could be higher. Could actually be over 16%. It's conceivable. But I'm not predicting that. I'm not making any predictions because there may be some provisional figures from the third quarter that get changed, next time around, this sort of stuff. So we really don't know. We do know that our sales, retail sales, in the big shopping malls and things of this sort where we can track the sales volume a little more quickly and easily, are running around 85 to 90% of what they had been in 2019, which is before COVID. That's very good. That was much better than expected. So the sum result is it looks like we have a very good shot at exceeding the IMF's considered to be wildly positive estimate. So great. If we keep this up, next year should be a really excellent year. So we knock on wood, we say a special prayer, we do whatever we need to do, though, knowing that the future, just as we have discovered over the last couple of years, is not ours to determine on our own in advance. We have to live through it just like everybody else. So we'll hope, but so far, things are really looking good, and spirits are picking up, and people are getting a different attitude. We have a very different way of looking at the world than people in Europe and North America and East Asia. And for that matter, most of the rest of Latin America. It's not been a happy time at all for them. We're happy, and we complain all the time, but we're happy. Very good. I'm glad to have that out of the way. Now, in talking about, I've been trying to say, what am I going to say on this investing thing? It hasn't been said 1,000 times before. I don't have anything that I think is useful. I'm going to focus on one thing that separates, in my mind, on the basis of now going on almost 18 years of experience, separates the people who are successful from the people who fail. And it doesn't have anything to do with the bright ideas and so forth or whatever. Folks, I just have to be very blunt here and tell you, I'm sure you appreciate the fact that it is extremely hard to start a business anywhere in the world, even in your own neighborhood, and make it work over time and be successful. If you've never done it, you may think it isn't that difficult, but you've done it once or twice, and it takes a terrific amount of attention. It takes self-discipline. It takes difficult decisions sometimes. And Lord knows, business owners all over the world have been through that the last couple of years, is just trying to decide whether it's worth surviving or throwing the towel or whatever. I mean, it's not a party at all. So, as a result, to tell you that you have to take it very seriously is pretty obvious. The people who have come down, and there are a number of them who've been quite successful, I'd say this to them. They came down and they understood what was happening. They understood all of that. They really invested themselves in the business of determining what to do when they were down there. They didn't come down already knowing what they were going to do, because they needed to learn the country, to visit. While you're here, you should be looking for the gaps, the holes, the things that don't exist you shouldn't be just be doing what everybody else is doing. That's almost certainly a way to run into a lot of competition, but to looking for what holes there are. And they're always, in every society, they have them. And I'm going to talk more about those in yet another video. But the most important thing to me is that dedication and that willingness to just go all in. I'm going to tell you a little story about back up in the U.S. that relates to this, what I was seeing going on, because that's one group. The failures are a different crowd. And let me tell you this story as an introduction to that. It's a true story. I'm not going to go into details, they're not necessary. It was a number of years ago. It was back in the last century. And a friend of mine and I, separately, and very coincidentally, were starting businesses. New businesses. We both worked in a similar sort of sector, but we weren't competitors or anything of that sort. And we both, for a variety of reasons, completely different reasons, we had left groups that we had worked with, and now we're setting up our own. And I was in a really challenging situation. I had limited money, and oh boy, it was going to be an uphill struggle and so forth. He had more, and that sort of, he had a lot more in terms of financial resources and what have you than I had. But that's not the key, guys. That's not the key. The difference between our approaches became very obvious here. And I saw it immediately when he started talking to me about his office. We both had to find office space. I had chosen office space. We both came to the same general part of Washington, D.C., where our clients were. And so we could have been in the same building, for that matter. But I had chosen one that was very close to that client center, and where I could, if I could walk in 15 minutes, or I could take a cab in 5 if it was raining or something like that. But it was very easy to get there, easy for them to get up to our offices. I had rented offices space as reasonably as I could, and rented the furniture, everything with it, till we saw whether or not we could make a go of this. And really focused on one thing, and that is making it as easy as possible to communicate with the client. I wanted to be in touch with them. I needed to have that outreach. And some of the clients were going to come flying into Washington, but they all come down into the Center Business District where we were in the Northwest D.C. And so that was, again, a logical place for us to be. My friend took a different approach to it. Now, we're both now middle-aged men, okay? And he decided he was finally opening his own business. He was going to have the office he'd always dreamed of. And he picked wonderful space, expensive, but wonderful space in a very charming area, sort of like Casco Viejo is here in Panama City. I mean, a very special area. So it was certainly not cheap. It had a spectacular view. It had the Potomac River and everything else. It was a lovely office. Lots of good things going for it. I had one of these package deals with the secretary and everything else, and you're renting the package, so you get all that. But he didn't, so he had to either do it himself or bring somebody on and all this sort of stuff. But he was off. You couldn't walk to his place, let's put it that way. You'd have to drive. It would be a minimum half an hour to get there. It could be longer if traffic was bad. So you had at least an hour round trip. Now, our clients are not the kind who want to take an hour just to get to see you and get back. You can come over and see them, and you can take that hour's drive. They're not interested in that. That's not cool, you know? And so my attitude was, I would never do that. And we had a metro system, but this office wasn't pretty enough. So he had purchased a place, not purchased, but actually rented a place that was it was off the metro system. So there was no avoiding the fact he was either going to have to take a cab or he was going to have to drive himself, and odds were he would have to drive himself. So, but the way I put it in my head, I didn't insult him. I didn't say anything much at the time at all. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but I was thinking, you're retiring into starting a business. It is not how it works. You don't retire into a business. If you're starting a business, you are focused on making that business work. It is not going to be easy. No one's going to bring you a little drink on your little silver tray while you sit and watch the waves lapping on the shore. You're going to work your butt off, and that's the way, and that's the only way you're going to make money and keep alive. And just keeping alive can be many times. Oh, I tell you, I've had ups, I've had downs. I've been through it before, more than once. This is it. If you don't have that kind of dedication, and I have folks, and this is where it's tricky, it's hard on you because very frequently people come down in December, January, February, what have you, from the north, whether it's Europe or North America, or Asia for that matter, and they are coming out of cold, snowy, icy weather, and they come down here and, oh my God, this is wonderful. They just love it, and I understand why. I came down here in February, my first visit to Panama, and it was excellent timing, I can assure you, from the Washington, D.C. area. That's when you are fall in love with the place and you say, oh, I should, my dream is to live here and to work here and so on, and I can have a little place on the beach. And pretty soon, they sound like they're looking for a vacation place that somebody else runs, does all the work and that's functioning there, which is probably the case that they exist. But it's this falling in love with these surroundings and the weather and the particular beautiful view that you have at that particular moment. That has nothing to do with your business except indirectly. It may appeal to other people who bring in clients, but the truth of the matter is you've got to find staff, you've got to get them trained, you've got to get the right equipment, you've got to keep an eye on the competition all the time, you've got to know your competition. And when they move, and you better look to it too, you've got to work out your deals, you have your legal situation, it's no big deal, but you have accounting, you have to have your tax forms in. If you're a business, there's our license fees you have to pay. There's a whole pile of stuff that has to be done, and you have to make money. And you may not even make enough to contribute at all to your own income. And then initially, it's all coming out. I can tell you that happens. That's very important. If you can't have that kind of attitude when you come down, now, lucky you if everything works out for you, but I wouldn't count on it. You're going to have problems. So you're not retiring into a business. You can retire into pretty much anything you want to, but you can't retire into starting a brand new business anywhere. Down the street in your own town, folks, or certainly not overseas in another country where you don't know the system yet, and expect it to be, well, restful, peaceful. It will be a growth experience. And it's a useful and valuable one, but you've got to want it. You've got to want it, and you've got to work for it. So if you can do that, I don't care what idea it is you think you have that's a brilliant idea, and maybe it is, and some people come with brilliant ideas, okay? But most of them find them once they get here. And they look for the holes, the problems, the things that are lacking, and they try to fill that space. But that's not the point. The point is, you're here to work your butt off, and there's no guarantee of success. So if you understand that in your soul, inside, really into your head, your mind, everything about you, you got a chance at making it work. Now, it's no secret. Well, it is probably. They don't talk about it very much. But for instance, among Americans, because I met them when I first came down, they were the big wave of them coming through. Some of the most successful ones were under the age of 35. So they came down not necessarily expecting to buy anything or do anything like that. They had to go out and rustle up the money from family and friends and what have you. But they were some of them were just like anybody else, but some who started businesses did bang-up jobs of it. And they lived for it. They were really, really deeply into it. People who are older than that, especially if you're over 60 or whatever, that's a very dangerous time. If you can't be in the retirement mode and do this. It's not just that they're young. What it means is that they have a future ahead of them. They're looking forward to the future. If you don't see a future, all right, what are you building a business for? But it's going to be a future business. It's not going to be a great success next year and make you feel, comfy and happy. It's work. So if you can take that attitude, that spirit in, you can do very well. And some of the businesses here that are actually pretty well known were begun by people from Europe and from North America who were in their 30s or even late 20s and who are still owned by them. They're in late 40s and early 50s. But no, they never say anything much about it. In fact, some of them don't even live here all year round. They come down part-time. They have staff who run the whole thing. They've been very successful. And the most successful have been among the youngest. And those who have sold, it's very hard to sell a business here, as it is anywhere, because you got to find, it has to fit what the other person wants, and that's always a challenge. But anyhow, they've had more success with it. It's that dedication, that sharp dedication. You can be sharp at 75. You can be dull as dull can be at 25. I've seen that too. But that's what I'm saying to you. So giving you success stories or failure stories, no. Guys, it boils down to this sort of general approach, working your butt off. And people, we don't want to tell you this. You're not going to hear it. Because we want your money. So we want to make you happy. So we want you to think that, yeah, there's some hot stuff down here. You can make real money. Ooh, we come on and down. We'll have a seminar for you. Whatever it takes. We need your money, all right? I don't have that attitude. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I think it's the most critical aspect. I don't care if you're setting up a little mom-and-pop operation, so to speak, somewhere, or whether you're looking for setting up something much larger and much more complex. You got to, if that, then you really have got to get serious. But the fact is, you're here to work, not to retire. All right, is that clear? So if you've got that strong in your head, I think you're over the first hump. So after that, you have to get down here, and you will find your business, or it will find you. Anyhow, I will talk to you about a more specific case coming up in the next time I put out a video. And until then, thank you very much for putting up with all this. I know it's a holiday season. Hanukkah's over, but the Christmas is just at the doorstep. And for all of you everywhere in the world who are celebrating, and those with the New Year coming up, I wish you the very best. But I'll be seeing you again before that. So thank you again for stopping by this time.